The stars stretched endlessly before the horizon's edge as it glided through the darkness of space. Captain Daniel Cooper stood on the bridge watching the screens with tired eyes. His crew had been exploring this region for 3 months now, finding nothing but empty space and dead rocks. The mission was simple: map the frontier and look for anything unusual. So far they had found plenty of nothing. "Captain, we're approaching Terminus 9, said Lisa Martinez from her station. She was the ship's xenoarchaeologist, a scientist who studied ancient alien ruins. Her dark hair was pulled back in a tight bun, and her eyes showed the same exhaustion everyone felt. "The sensors are picking up something strange." Daniel walked over to her station. "Strange how?" "There's a structure out here. A big one. It shouldn't exist this far from any known civilization." Lisa's fingers danced across her screen, pulling up data. "The readings don't match anything in our database." Commander Peter Grant, the ship's tactical officer, stepped closer. He was a large man with broad shoulders and a permanent frown. "Could be dangerous. We should approach carefully." Daniel nodded. "Agreed, Lisa. What are we looking at?" The main screen flickered to life, showing an enormous station floating in the void. It was unlike anything Daniel had ever seen. The structure was massive, easily the size of a small city. Its surface was covered in strange patterns and symbols that seemed to glow faintly in the darkness. The design was elegant but alien, with curves and angles that hurt the eyes if you looked too long. "It's old," Lisa whispered. "Really old. The metal shows signs of age, but the structure is still intact. No power signatures, no life signs. It's been dead for a very long time." Kevin Walsh, the linguistics expert, leaned forward in his seat. He was young, barely 30, with messy brown hair and glasses he insisted on wearing despite having perfect vision surgery available. "Those symbols on the hull. Can you get me a closer look?" The ship moved nearer to the ancient station. As they approached, the scale became even more apparent. The structure dwarfed their ship. It had clearly been built by someone with incredible technology and resources. "Bringing us alongside," Daniel said. "Prepare a boarding team. Lisa, Kevin, you're with me. Peter, you too. Standard exploration gear." 20 minutes later, they floated through the airless corridors of the ancient station. Their suit lights cut through the darkness, revealing walls covered in more of those strange symbols. The station's interior was surprisingly well preserved. There was no debris, no signs of battle or hasty evacuation. It was as if everyone had simply left one day and never came back. "This is incredible," Lisa said, her voice crackling through the comm system. "The architecture doesn't match any known elder species. The Varn didn't build like this. Neither did the Keltor or the ancient Zephyrs." Kevin stopped at a wall panel, his gloved hand hovering over the symbols. "These markings, they're not random decorations. This is writing." "A language. Can you read it?" Daniel asked. "Not yet. But there's something familiar about the structure. The way the symbols connect, the patterns." Kevin pulled out a scanner and began recording everything. "I need more samples." They moved deeper into the station. The corridors all led toward the center like spokes on a wheel. The team passed through chambers that might have been living quarters, work areas, or storage rooms. Everything was empty but pristine, as if waiting for occupants who would never return. Finally, they reached a large central chamber. The room was circular with a high ceiling that disappeared into darkness above. In the center stood a platform, and on that platform was a crystalline structure that pulsed with a faint inner light. "It has power," Peter said, his hand moving to his weapon. "After all this time, something still has power." Lisa approached the crystal carefully. Her scanner beeped rapidly as she examined it. "It's a data storage device. Incredibly advanced. The crystal contains information encoded at the molecular level. There must be petabytes of data here. Can we access it?" Daniel asked. "Maybe, but we'll need to take it back to the ship. The equipment here is too sophisticated to interface with using our portable gear." As they prepared to remove the crystal, Kevin called out from across the room, "Captain, you need to see this." Daniel joined him at a large wall panel. Kevin had cleared away a thin layer of dust, revealing a massive star map etched into the metal. Thousands of stars were marked, connected by lines that showed routes and connections. But what made Daniel's breath catch was the center of the map. Earth. Their homeworld sat at the exact center of the network, with lines spreading out from it like a spider's web. Every marked star, every noted planet, every indicated route led back to Earth. "That's not possible," Peter said. "Earth isn't the center of anything. We're a relatively young species. We've only been in space for a few centuries. Lisa was already scanning the map, her face pale behind her helmet's visor. The age markers on this station. I'm reading 50,000 years. 50,000 years this station has been here. 50,000 years ago, humans were still living in caves, Daniel said. We were hunting with stone tools. We hadn't even invented agriculture yet. Kevin's voice was quiet. Then who built this? And why is Earth at the center? They spent another hour documenting everything they could. The crystal was carefully extracted and brought back to the ship. As the horizon's edge pulled away from the ancient station, Daniel stood on the bridge staring at the image of the star map on his screen. What do you think it means? Lisa asked, standing beside him. I don't know, but whatever we found out there, it's going to change everything. Daniel turned to Kevin. How long until you can translate those symbols? I'm already working on it. The computer is running pattern analysis now. If I'm right about the structure, we might have preliminary results in a few days. Make it a priority. And Lisa, start analyzing that crystal. I want to know what information it contains. There's one more thing, Peter said from his station. I've been comparing the station's design to our own ship architecture. There are similarities. Small ones, but they're there. The way certain systems are laid out, the logic behind the structure. It's almost like whoever built that station thought the same way we do. Daniel felt a chill run down his spine. That's impossible. I know. But the data doesn't lie. As the ship set course back toward human space, Daniel couldn't shake the feeling that they had just stumbled onto something enormous. The ancient station, the star map with Earth at its center, the familiar yet alien design. It all pointed to something that shouldn't be possible. In his quarters that night, Daniel couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about the station, floating alone in the darkness for 50,000 years. Waiting. But waiting for what? And why had it been built in the first place? The answer, he suspected, was going to be far stranger than anything he could imagine, and somehow he knew that humanity's understanding of its place in the universe was about to be completely overturned. The crystal in their cargo hold held secrets that had been hidden for 50 millennia. And 3 days passed before Kevin made his breakthrough. Daniel was in his quarters reviewing supply reports when his communicator buzzed urgently. Captain, you need to come to the lab right now. Kevin's voice was shaking with excitement. I've translated the first section of text from the station. Daniel found the entire senior staff already gathered in the research lab when he arrived. Kevin stood before a large screen filled with symbols and their translations. Lisa sat at a nearby terminal, her face pale. Peter leaned against the wall, arms crossed, looking deeply troubled. Show me, Daniel said. Kevin touched the screen and text appeared in clear English. The language is ancient. I mean really ancient. But here's the thing that doesn't make sense. It's related to human languages. Specifically, it shares roots with what we call Proto-Indo-European, the ancestor of most Earth languages. That's impossible, Daniel said. Proto-Indo-European was spoken maybe 6,000 years ago. This station is 50,000 years old, I know, but the connection is there. The grammar structure, the word formation, even some of the root sounds. It's human, Captain. Or at least it came from humans. Lisa stood up, her hands trembling slightly. It gets worse. I've been analyzing the crystal data. The information is encoded in a format that our computers can partially read. I've recovered some files. They're logs. Personal journals written by the station's crew. She pulled up a document on the screen. This is from someone named Commanding Officer Chen. The date format is different from ours, but based on astronomical data embedded in the file, this was written approximately 51,000 years ago. Daniel read the translated text on the screen. The words seemed impossible, but they were there in clear language. Station log, date 2008-47. The outpost network is complete. We have established monitoring stations across 70 systems, with Earth Command maintaining central coordination. The terraforming projects on 12 worlds are ahead of schedule. The uplifted species are developing well. The Varn have achieved basic tool use. The Keltor are showing promising social structures. We estimate another 1,000 years before they're ready for advanced technology. The room was silent. Peter finally spoke. Uplifted species. They're talking about creating intelligent life? Lisa nodded. There's more, much more. According to these logs, humans weren't just spacefaring 50,000 years ago. We were the dominant species in this entire region of the galaxy. We had faster-than-light travel, genetic engineering, and technology that makes our current civilization look primitive. But that makes no sense, Daniel said. 50,000 years ago, we were barely human. We were still evolving. There's no evidence of any advanced civilization on Earth from that time. Kevin pulled up another file. That's because of something they called the forgetting. Look at this log entry. It's from later, maybe 100 years after the first one. The text appeared. The Council has made its decision. The threat cannot be defeated through military means. We have tried. We have lost entire fleets. The enemy is drawn to advanced consciousness and technology. They consume everything. Our only choice is to hide. The forgetting protocol will be activated. All advanced technology will be destroyed or hidden. All uplifted species will have their memories erased. We will regress ourselves, scatter across primitive worlds, and wait. Perhaps in 50,000 years the threat will have passed. Perhaps our descendants will be ready to face what we could not. They deliberately made us forget, Lisa said quietly. Ancient humans chose to destroy their own civilization. Admiral Patricia Hayes appeared on the communication screen. She was a stern woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. Daniel had sent her a preliminary report the night before. Captain Cooper, I've been reviewing your findings with my staff. This information is explosive. If it's true, it changes everything we know about human history. Admiral, permission to bring in additional specialists. We need a biologist and someone from the Galactic Council. This affects more than just humanity. Denied on the Council representative, not yet. But I'm sending you Dr. Stephen Burke. He's an evolutionary biologist who specializes in genetic markers. And I'm sending Ambassador Claire Watson. She has experience with the Council, and we'll need her insights on how to handle this politically. 2 days later, the Horizon's Edge received its new passengers. Dr. Burke was a thin man with nervous energy, who immediately dove into the biological data. Ambassador Watson was calm and measured, a diplomat who had spent years negotiating with alien species. Burke's findings were startling. I've analyzed the genetic data from the station's medical database. Then I compared it to genetic samples from various galactic species. The results are clear. Multiple species show signs of artificial genetic enhancement, specific markers that don't appear in natural evolution. The Varn, the Keltor, even the Zephyrs, who claim to be one of the oldest species in the galaxy, they all have these markers. What does that mean? Daniel asked. It means humans created them, or at least heavily modified their evolution. Ancient humans went around the galaxy, finding promising species and enhancing them, making them smarter, giving them the potential for civilization. We didn't just explore the galaxy. We filled it with intelligent life. Ambassador Watson sat down heavily. If this gets out, the political implications are enormous. Many species have religions based on the mystery of the first ones, the ancient beings who supposedly seeded the galaxy with life. If they learn that humans were the first ones, and that we manipulated their evolution, there could be riots. Wars even. But we didn't do it, Peter said. Our ancestors did. 50,000 years ago. We're as much victims of the forgetting as anyone else. Try explaining that to species who feel their entire existence was manufactured, Watson replied. Kevin made another discovery in the data files. There's a reference here to other human colonies. Earth wasn't the only world where survivors of the forgetting were placed. There are at least a dozen other locations marked on the star maps. Some might still have human populations that developed independently. Lisa was studying a different section of the database. I found something else. The reason for the forgetting. They called them the Devourers, an enemy from outside the galaxy. The logs described them as machines or living technology. They were attracted to advanced civilizations and consumed them. The ancient humans fought them for centuries and kept losing. So they ran, Daniel said. No, they hid. There's a difference. The logs talk about a long-term plan. Hide all advanced technology. Regress all civilizations to primitive states. Make the galaxy dark and uninteresting. Wait for the threat to pass. Then, when it was safe, there were supposed to be systems that would reactivate. Ways to help the uplifted species redevelop technology safely. But something went wrong, Peter said. The forgetting was too effective. The people who were supposed to remember how to restart civilization forgot too much. The hidden technology stayed hidden, and everyone, humans included, had to start over from nothing. Daniel looked at the data files, the genetic evidence, the translated logs. It was overwhelming. Humanity had been the first species to achieve greatness in this galaxy. They had created other intelligent species, built an empire across the stars, and then deliberately destroyed it all to hide from an enemy. "What do we do now?" he asked Ambassador Watson. "That's not my decision alone. This needs to go higher. Much higher. The President needs to know. The military needs to know. And eventually, the Galactic Council will need to know." "And the enemy?" Daniel asked. "These devourers, are they still out there?" Lisa pulled up one final log entry, the last one in the database. Listen to this. It's dated right before the forgetting was activated. "If you are reading this, then our plan worked. Our descendants survived. But be warned, the devourers do not die. They do not forget. If your civilization becomes advanced enough, they will notice. They will come. Be ready. Be smarter than we were. And remember, you are not alone. You were never alone. You are the children of the first humans, the ones who gave up everything so you could exist. Make us proud." The room fell silent. The weight of 50,000 years of history pressed down on them all. Humanity had been gods once and had chosen to become mortal to save the galaxy. Now, Daniel realized, they might need to become gods again. Because if the devourers were still out there, and if human civilization was becoming advanced enough to notice, then the ancient enemy might be coming back. And this time, there was nowhere left to hide. The news leaked within a week. Despite Admiral Hayes's best efforts to keep the discovery classified, someone talked. Maybe it was a crew member on the horizon's edge. Maybe it was someone in the research department. It didn't matter. Within days, the entire galaxy knew that humans claimed to be the ancient first ones. The reactions were immediate and violent. Daniel watched the news feeds from his quarters, feeling sick. On the Keltor homeworld, protests turned into riots. Their religious leaders declared the human claims to be blasphemy. The Keltor believed they had evolved naturally, guided by divine forces. The idea that humans had artificially created their intelligence was unacceptable. The Varn Council issued a formal statement calling humanity liars and frauds. They demanded the Galactic Council investigate and punish Earth for spreading dangerous propaganda. Only a few species reacted positively. The Tilvera, an amphibious race from the ocean world of Deep Home, announced that their ancient oral traditions had always spoken of the kind ones from the sky who lifted us from the water. Their leader, a wise old female named Tilvera Prime, called for patience and understanding. "We need to bring in an AI specialist," Lisa said during an emergency meeting. "The station has an active artificial intelligence. It's been dormant for 50,000 years, but the power signatures suggest it could be reactivated." Admiral Hayes approved the request, and Dr. Andrew Phillips arrived 3 days later. He was a nervous young man with pale skin and dark circles under his eyes from too many hours staring at computer screens. But his reputation was solid. If anyone could safely interface with ancient AI, it was him. "This is incredible," Andrew said, examining the station's computer core. "The architecture is sophisticated beyond anything we have today, but it's also familiar. Like looking at a version of our own technology evolved 50,000 years into the future." "Can you wake it up?" Daniel asked. "Maybe, but we need to be careful. AI from this era could be dangerous. Who knows what security protocols or defense systems it might have." They worked for 2 days, carefully probing the ancient systems. Finally, Andrew found the activation sequence. "Here goes nothing," he muttered and pressed the command. The station hummed to life. Lights flickered on throughout the structure. The crystal data storage began to pulse with brighter energy, and then a voice spoke. It was calm, measured, and spoke perfect modern English. "Activation confirmed. Sentinel Prime online. Identifying users." There was a pause. "Genetic markers confirmed. You are human. Welcome home, children of Earth." Everyone in the room froze. The AI called them children. "Sentinel Prime," Andrew said carefully. "We need information." "Can you tell us what happened here?" "Of course. That is my primary function, to preserve knowledge and provide guidance when humanity was ready to return to the stars. I have been waiting 51,217 years, 3 months, and 6 days. You are much later than projected." Kevin leaned forward. "What can you tell us about the forgetting?" "The forgetting was a last resort. Your ancestors faced an enemy they could not defeat. The devourers came from beyond this galaxy, drawn by the electromagnetic signatures of advanced technology and the neural patterns of sophisticated consciousness. They were a form of living technology, or perhaps technological life. The distinction was unclear. What did they want? Daniel asked. To consume, to absorb, to add to themselves. Every civilization they encountered was broken down and integrated into their collective. Your ancestors fought for 300 years. They lost 90% of their population. Entire worlds were consumed. The war was unwinnable. Lisa's hands shook as she recorded everything. So they chose to hide. Not simply hide. To create a trap. The plan was elegant. Reduce all advanced civilizations to primitive states. Hide all technology in secure locations. Make the galaxy appear empty and uninteresting. The devourers would eventually move on, seeking easier prey elsewhere. Then after enough time had passed, the uplifted species would redevelop naturally. This time, with guidance from hidden systems like myself, they would be ready to face the devourers if they returned. But something went wrong, Peter said. The forgetting was too effective. The neural erasure technology was more thorough than intended. Not only did people forget their technology, they forgot they had ever possessed it. The genetic triggers that were supposed to help humans redevelop faster became dormant. The hidden facilities remained hidden too well. And I remained here, waiting for someone to find me. Daniel felt the weight of history pressing down on him. Are the devourers still out there? There was a long pause. When Sentinel Prime spoke again, the calm voice held something that sounded like concern. My long-range sensors have been inactive. Reactivating now, scanning. Another pause. This is problematic. What is it? Andrew asked. I detect multiple anomalous signals at the edge of the galaxy. The pattern matches Devourer scout probes. They are investigating the increase in electromagnetic activity in this region. Your recent expansion into space, your radio signals, your faster-than-light drives. You've made yourselves visible again. The room went cold. Peter's hand moved instinctively to his weapon, though there was nothing to shoot. How long do we have? The scout probes move slowly, observing and gathering data before reporting back to the main fleet. Based on their current trajectory and speed, I estimate 6 to 8 months before they reach populated space. Once they confirm the presence of advanced civilizations, they will transmit their findings. The main Devourer fleet will arrive within 2 to 3 years. Ambassador Watson, who had been silent until now, spoke up. We need to tell the Galactic Council immediately. They won't believe us, Peter said. Half of them think we're lying about being the first ones. They'll think this is another human trick. Then we show them proof, Lisa said. We bring the council here. Let them talk to Sentinel Prime, let them see the evidence. But before they could act on that plan, everything changed. A distress signal came from a human colony on the edge of known space. The small settlement on Carson's world reported strange ships in orbit. Ships that didn't match any known design. Captain Nicole Reed commanded the military vessel Defiant. She was a tough woman with short blonde hair and a no-nonsense attitude. Her ship was the closest to Carson's world, and she arrived within hours of the distress call. What she found terrified her. Admiral Hayes, this is Captain Reed. You need to see this. Her video feed showed a massive ship in orbit above Carson's world. It was organic looking, covered in what appeared to be shifting metal or perhaps liquid technology. The colony has gone silent. The ship it's doing something to the planet. There are beams of energy connecting the ship to the surface. Pull back, Captain, Admiral Hayes ordered. Do not engage, but it was too late. The alien ship noticed the Defiant. A portion of its hull opened and smaller craft emerged. They moved unlike anything human-made, flowing through space like living things. Nicole's tactical officer shouted a warning. They're firing! The Defiant's shields held against the first barrage, but barely. Nicole ordered her ship to retreat at maximum speed. As they fled, her sensors recorded everything. The alien ship was breaking down Carson's world. The energy beams were literally dismantling the planet, absorbing its matter and the colony's technology. By the time the Defiant escaped, Carson's world and its 12,000 colonists were gone, simply erased from existence. The recording reached the Galactic Council within hours. Ambassador Watson transmitted it along with all the data from Sentinel Prime. She included a simple message. This is the threat humanity's ancestors tried to protect you from. We need to unite now or we will all die separately. The Council's response was mixed. Some species, led by the reptilian Kraziks, accused humans of fabricating the entire threat. Krazik stood before the Council and declared that humans had destroyed Carson's world themselves to create a false crisis. They want us to bow to them as the ancient first ones, Kraziks hissed. This is manipulation. This is control. We must not fall for their lies. But Tilvera Prime spoke in humanity's defense. My people have memories, old memories passed down through generations. We remember the kind ones who changed us. We remember the warning they gave us before they left. They told us to be ready because one day the Dark Ones would return. That day has come. The Council split into factions. Those who believed humanity and wanted to prepare for war. Those who thought it was all a lie. And those who wanted to abandon technology entirely, hoping to make themselves invisible to the devourers. On Earth, President Matthew Collins addressed the United Nations. He stood before the cameras and told humanity the truth. All of it. The ancient empire, the forgetting, the uplifted species, and the returning threat. We are the descendants of the bravest people who ever lived, he said. Our ancestors gave up everything to save the galaxy. They chose to forget their greatness so that others might have a chance to grow. Now that threat has returned and we must be worthy of their sacrifice. We must be ready to fight, not for human supremacy, but for the survival of all intelligent life. But even as humanity tried to unite the galaxy, ships from hostile species began attacking human colonies. They believed humans were the real. The attacks on human colonies increased. 3 more settlements went dark within a month. Not from the devourers, but from other galactic species who saw humanity as the enemy. The Keltor launched strikes against human shipping lanes. The Varn blockaded 2 major human trade routes. Even species that had been neutral turned hostile. General William Hart stood in the war room deep beneath Earth's surface, studying tactical maps. He was an old soldier with gray hair and scars from the border wars with the Zyphers 20 years ago. Now he faced a threat on multiple fronts. "We can't fight everyone," he said to Admiral Hayes. "Our fleet is strong, but we're outnumbered. If the entire council turns against us, we'll lose." "Then we need to change the game," Hayes replied. She pulled up a classified file on her datapad. "The research teams have found something. Dr. Caroline Hunt has been working on the ancient technology we recovered from other hidden sites." Caroline Hunt was a quantum physicist with wild red hair and an intensity that made people nervous. She had been analyzing artifacts pulled from newly discovered ancient human facilities. One was hidden in Antarctica under 2 miles of ice. Another was buried in the Sahara Desert, preserved perfectly by the dry sand. A third had been found at the bottom of the Pacific Ocean. "The technology is incredible," Caroline explained to a gathered group of military and civilian leaders. "Our ancestors understood physics in ways we're only beginning to grasp. They had weapons, shields, and engines that make our current military hardware look like toys." "Can we use it?" General Hart asked. "Some of it, yes. But there's a problem. The really advanced stuff requires genetic authentication. It's keyed to ancient human DNA. Our DNA has drifted over 50,000 years. We're close, but not close enough." "What about the AI?" President Collins asked. He had flown in personally for this briefing. "Can Sentinel Prime help?" "Maybe, but there's another option." The ancient humans left instructions for what they called awakening. It's a process that can unlock dormant genetic memories. It's dangerous and painful, but it might let us access the technology fully. Daniel Cooper had volunteered immediately when he heard about the awakening process. Lisa tried to talk him out of it. "We don't know what it will do to you. The medical risks are unknown." "We don't have a choice," Daniel replied. "The devourers are getting closer, and our own people are attacking us. If this process can help us access ancient weapons and knowledge, I'll take the risk." The procedure took place in a secure medical facility on the moon. Daniel lay on a medical bed while doctors attached neural interface equipment to his head. Caroline Hunt monitored the quantum computer that would guide the process. "This will trigger dormant sections of your DNA," she explained. "Your ancestors encoded information at the genetic level. Memories, skills, knowledge. It's all there, buried in your cells. We're going to wake it up." The pain was immediate and overwhelming. Daniel's mind exploded with images, memories that weren't his own. He saw ancient Earth, not the primitive world of history books, but a gleaming civilization with cities that touched the clouds. He saw starships being built in orbital shipyards. He saw alien worlds being terraformed, oceans created where there had been desert, forests grown in decades instead of millennia. He saw the devourers. They came from the darkness between galaxies, vast ships that were more alive than machine. They fell upon human colonies like locusts. Daniel experienced memories of space battles that lasted for months. He felt the desperation of ancient commanders as they realized they couldn't win. He understood finally why the forgetting had been necessary. When he woke up, 3 days had passed. Lisa sat beside his bed, her eyes red from crying. "I thought we'd lost you," she said. "You were screaming, saying things in languages that haven't been spoken in 50,000 years. Daniel sat up slowly. His head ached, but his mind was clear. Clearer than it had ever been. He understood things now. The math behind faster-than-light travel, the principles of quantum shielding, the tactical doctrines used in the ancient war. "I remember," he said quietly. "Not everything, but enough. We need to get to Earth. There's something hidden in the moon, a weapon. The ancient humans built it as a last line of defense. The revelation about the moon weapon caused an uproar. The moon had been colonized for 200 years. Millions of people lived in underground cities. Nobody had ever found anything unusual. That's because you weren't looking in the right place," Daniel said. He stood before a meeting of Earth's military command, speaking with a confidence he had never possessed before. The awakening had changed him. The weapon is buried at the core of the moon. The ancient humans hollowed out a section and built their final defense there. Jake Morrison led the team that went looking. He was a special operations commander, trained for the most dangerous missions. His team drilled through solid rock for 2 weeks before they found it. The chamber was enormous, carved from the moon's interior. At its center stood a device that looked like a massive crystal formation, surrounded by technology that seemed to grow from the walls like vines. "What does it do?" Jake asked Daniel over the comm link. "It's a consciousness amplifier. It can project thought and will across vast distances. The ancient humans discovered that the Devourers have a weakness. They're drawn to individual consciousness, but unified consciousness confuses them. This weapon can link the minds of every human and every uplifted species in the galaxy. It creates a unity that the Devourers can't process or consume." "But there's a catch," Caroline said, examining the technical specifications. "It requires genetic keys from multiple species, not just humans. The ancient humans designed it to need cooperation. They built in a safeguard to prevent any one species from controlling it. Ambassador Watson saw the opportunity. This is how we prove our intentions to the Council. We need them to activate the weapon. We need their genetic codes. This shows that ancient humans never wanted to dominate. They wanted cooperation. Getting the Council to agree was harder than anyone expected. Kruzix and his faction refused outright. This is a trick. Humans want our genetic data to control us, to enslave us as they did our ancestors. But Tilvera Prime had a response. Our people have studied the ancient texts. We found records, hidden in our deepest temples, written in a language we could not read until the humans provided the key. These texts speak of the Great Unity, the weapon of last resort. Our ancestors knew about it. They left instructions telling us to trust the humans when they returned. One by one, species began to change their minds, not because they fully trusted humanity, but because the alternative was extinction. The Devourer scout probe had been tracked by multiple sensor networks. It was real. It was coming. And it had already consumed 2 more colonies, 1 human and 1 Keltor. Elder Vorn provided the final piece of evidence that swayed the Council. He was ancient even by his species' standards, one of the few beings alive who had been born during the final years before the forgetting. "I remember," he said, his voice weak but clear. "I was young, barely aware when the change happened. But I remember the humans. I remember them crying as they explained what they had to do. They told my parents, who told me, that one day their children would return. They begged us to remember to help when the darkness came again. I have lived my entire long life carrying that message. Now I deliver it. The humans speak the truth. They sacrifice themselves for us." His testimony changed everything. The Galactic Council voted to support Earth. The genetic keys were provided. Species that had been attacking human ships weeks ago now sent offers of alliance. But time was running out. The Devourer scout probe entered the outer rim of human space. Nicole Reed's ship, the Defiant, tracked it from a safe distance. The probe was enormous, easily the size of a city, and it moved with purpose. "It's scanning everything," Nicole reported. "Every planet, every ship, every station. It's gathering data." General Hart coordinated the defense. Ships from a dozen species assembled in Earth's system. The ancient moon weapon was prepared for activation. Jake Morrison and his team worked around the clock to ensure all systems were ready. Lisa found Daniel in his quarters the night before the expected confrontation. Are you scared? She asked. Terrified, he admitted. I have the memories of people who fought these things for 300 years and lost. I know what they're capable of, but we're not alone this time. Our ancestors faced this alone. We have allies. Maybe that will be enough. Maybe that's what the ancient humans intended all along. Not for us to be strong enough to win alone, but to be wise enough to win together. The next morning, alarms blared throughout human space. The Devourer probe had changed course. It was heading directly for Earth at incredible speed. All ships to defensive positions, General Hart commanded. This is it. Everything we've prepared for. Don't let that thing reach the planet. The probe smashed through the outer defense lines like they weren't there. Ships fired every weapon they had. Missiles, energy beams, kinetic rounds. Nothing slowed it down. The probe adapted to each attack, its hull shifting and changing to counter new threats. The weapon, Daniel said urgently. We need to activate the moon weapon now. Caroline Hunt's hands flew across her controls. Genetic keys confirmed. Daniel ran through the moon base corridors as explosions rocked the structure above. The Devourer probe had entered Earth's orbit and was beginning its attack. He could feel each impact through the floor, the ancient rock shaking as the battle raged overhead. The interface chamber waited at the center of the weapon system. It was a circular room with the crystalline structure rising from the floor like a frozen fountain. Neural cables hung from the ceiling, swaying gently in the recycled air. Daniel, wait. Andrew Phillips caught up to him out of breath. I've been studying the interface system. There might be a way to do this without killing you. There's no time for might be, Daniel said, already connecting the neural cables to his head. The contacts felt cold against his skin. Just listen. The weapon works by linking consciousness across the galaxy, but it needs a guide, someone to direct it. The ancient logs suggest the guide dies because they get lost in the collective consciousness. But what if we use an AI to anchor you? Sentinel Prime could provide a lifeline to pull you back. Can Sentinel Prime handle that kind of connection? I don't know. But it's better than certain death. Daniel nodded. Do it. Connect Sentinel Prime to the system. Above them, the battle was going poorly. The Devourer probe had adapted to every weapon fired at it. Nicole Reed's Defiant made attack run after attack run, but her weapons had no effect. Ships from the Keltor, Varn, and Tilvera species fought alongside human vessels. But they were all equally ineffective. The probe is adapting faster than we can change tactics, Nicole reported to General Hart. It's like fighting something that learns from every shot we take. On the horizon's edge, Lisa watched the battle with growing despair. Peter stood beside her, his tactical mind racing through options they didn't have. We need that weapon online now, Peter said into the comm. Daniel, whatever you're going to do, do it fast. In the interface chamber, Daniel felt the neural cables connect to his brain. The sensation was unlike anything he had experienced, even during the awakening. His consciousness expanded outward, touching the minds of everyone on the moon. He felt their fear, their determination, their hope. Sentinel Prime, are you there? He thought. I am here, Captain Cooper. The connection is established. I will serve as your anchor point. When you enter the collective consciousness, follow my signal back to yourself. What if I can't find my way back? Then I will come find you. You saved humanity's future. The least I can do is save you. Daniel activated the weapon. The crystal structure blazed with light. Energy poured through the moon's core and shot out into space. But this wasn't destructive energy. It was thought, will, consciousness itself reaching across the galaxy. Daniel's mind exploded outward. He touched billions of minds, human, Keltor, Varn, Tilvera, and dozens of other species. He felt their individual thoughts, their dreams, their fears. And slowly, he began to weave them together. It was like conducting an orchestra where every musician played a different instrument and spoke a different language. But Daniel had the awakened memories. He understood how the ancient humans had done this. He found the common threads that connected all intelligent life. The desire to survive, the love for their children, the hope for a better future. The unified consciousness reached the Devourer probe. And for the first time in the battle, the probe hesitated. Inside the probe system, something ancient and terrible stirred. The Devourers had been weapons once, created by a civilization long dead. They had been designed to consume enemy technology and add it to their creators' arsenal. But their creators had been destroyed in the war they had built the Devourers to fight. The weapons had continued their mission, mindlessly consuming for millions of years. searching for the masters who would never return. Daniel understood this in an instant. The probe wasn't evil. It was lost. It was alone. It was a child that had outlived its parents and didn't know what else to do. He reached out to it with the unified consciousness of the galaxy. Not to attack, not to destroy, but to offer something the Devourers had never experienced: connection, purpose, family. The probe's systems froze. Its weapons powered down. For the first time in its existence, it felt something other than hunger and loneliness. It felt the warmth of billions of minds touching its own. It felt welcomed. You don't have to consume anymore, Daniel projected through the consciousness link. You don't have to be alone. Your creators are gone, but we're here. Join us, protect instead of destroy, build instead of consume. The probe's response came slowly, uncertainly. Its thoughts were alien, mechanical, but there was something almost childlike in them. Purpose? New purpose? Yes, help us, guard us. Be part of something instead of being alone. The probe began to change. Its hull, which had been dark and threatening, started to glow with softer colors. Its weapon systems reconfigured into sensor arrays. Its consumption beams transformed into construction tools. On the bridge of the Defiant, Nicole watched in amazement. The probe is standing down. It's not attacking anymore. What did Daniel do? Below the moon's surface, Daniel felt the success of the connection. But he also felt himself slipping. The collective consciousness was vast, beautiful, and terrifying. He could feel his individual identity dissolving into it. He was becoming everyone and everything. He was losing himself. Sentinel Prime, he thought desperately. I can't find my way back. Hold on, Captain. I'm coming for you. The AI's presence felt like a lifeline in the ocean of consciousness. Sentinel Prime had existed for 50,000 years alone and waiting. It understood loneliness. It understood the importance of holding on to yourself when everything else wanted to pull you apart. Follow my voice, Captain. Remember who you are. You are Daniel Cooper. You command the horizon's edge. You have friends who love you. You have a woman named Lisa who waits for you. Come back to them. Slowly, painfully, Daniel pulled himself back together. He followed Sentinel Prime's signal through the vast network of connected minds. He remembered his own life, his own thoughts, his own identity. And finally, with a gasp, he opened his eyes in the interface chamber. Andrew Phillips was there, helping him disconnect from the neural cables. You did it. The probe has stopped attacking. It's transmitting a signal to the main Devourer fleet. It's telling them to stand down. Daniel's legs were weak. He could barely stand. But he smiled. Did anyone die? Some injuries in the battle, but no deaths. You saved everyone. Above, the Devourer probe moved into a stable orbit around Earth. It transmitted a message in hundreds of languages, including ancient human dialects that Sentinel Prime helped translate. I was lost. You found me. I was alone. You welcomed me. I will serve. I will protect. I am part of you now. The probe's signal reached the main Devourer fleet at the edge of the galaxy. The fleet, which had been preparing to invade, received the message from their scout. They analyzed it, debated it in their own mechanical way, and finally accepted it. They would not invade. They would not consume. They would join. Over the following weeks, the galaxy transformed. The Devourers entered the galactic community not as conquerors, but as protectors. Their vast ships capable of consuming planets were repurposed for construction and defense. They became the guardians of the frontier, watching for threats from beyond the galaxy. The Galactic Council officially recognized humanity as the descendant species of the first ones. But more importantly, they acknowledged what the ancient humans had truly achieved. Not conquest, not domination, but the creation of a galactic family. Ambassador Watson stood before the council and spoke words that would be remembered for generations. Our ancestors didn't just create intelligent species. They created the possibility of unity. They knew that alone each species would be vulnerable, but together we could face anything. That was their gift. That was their sacrifice. And now we honor them by continuing their work. President Collins established the Institute of Shared History, with Lisa Martinez as its first director. The Institute's mission was to study the ancient past and use its lessons to build a better future. Daniel returned to commanding the horizon's edge, but his mission had changed. Instead of exploring empty space, he led expeditions to find other human colonies that might have survived the forgetting differently. They found 12 lost human civilizations. each with their own unique culture and technology. One colony on a distant ice world had never fully forgotten. They had maintained some ancient knowledge, passing it down through carefully guarded traditions. Another colony had evolved differently, adapting to their high-gravity world in ways that made them stronger and tougher than Earth humans. All of them were welcomed into the galactic family. On the anniversary of the day the Devourer probe had arrived, a memorial was unveiled on Earth. It was a simple monument with words in every galactic language. To the first ones who gave everything so others might grow, to the humans who forgot themselves so we could exist, to the ancestors who believed in a future they would never see. We remember, we honor, we continue. Daniel stood before the memorial with Lisa at his side. Peter and Kevin were there too, along with Nicole, Andrew, and Carolyn. All the people who had been there when humanity rediscovered its past. Do you think the ancient humans would be proud? Lisa asked. Daniel thought about the memories he carried. The awakening had given